In the next section, we'll look at this very last criticism from the previous round where I said, oh, suffix arrays, they can't do all the magic tricks that suffix trees can. And it turns out that's ultimately wrong. You can make them as powerful as suffix trees, but you have to work a little harder to get there. And the first very crucial step is what's called the LCP array, the longest common prefix array. Which gets you a good way towards supporting most of the things the suffix tree can do. And we'll build a bit more on that. Because it's a while ago, I thought I'll leave this one in. One of the early applications of suffix trees, which I guess you may guess at this point, you cannot easily do with just the suffix array, was to find these longest repeated strings. Okay, I started it now for real, and you can log in the answer if you want. That algorithm to find the longest, or say the length, to be precise, just the length of a longest repeated substring. We used some other feature of suffix trees beyond just the sorted order of suffixes. Which one might that have been? Is one of you still thinking? Shall we wait for a short bit? As this might be it, so the memories will come back, but you got it. It's for just knowing the length. All we need is really the string depth of the internal nodes, because every internal node has at least 2 leaves below it, otherwise it wouldn't be there. And so it corresponds to a string that shows up twice. And that's an if and only if you think about it. So finding any node with deepest string depth corresponds to a longest repeated substring. For that, we need these string depths. Now, the suffix arrays don't have those. Here's again how we did this in suffix trees. Just have the picture again. Suffix arrays by themselves don't have this. So we'll add something so that this information is present again. And that's the LCP array. You should think of this as visiting the leaves in left to right order. And then between any 2 adjacent ones, say these 2, as an extreme example, but fine. Between any pair of adjacent leaves, there's precisely one lowest common ancestor. There's one internal node that splits these. And that's the lowest common ancestor in the tree. If you walk up, their paths to the root will join at some point. And that node's string depth is what we're interested in. And that turns out to also be the longest common prefix of these suffixes that start at those 2 positions. Because again, think about it, what it means in the suffix tree. If you traverse with the suffix starting at 1 from the root down here, and the suffix starting at 6 from the root down here, they share a path until they don't. At that point, they split. And that must be their longest common prefix. That's the number of characters they have in common. And so the algorithm for finding the length of a longest repeated substring could be just find the maximum in the LCP array, full stop. That becomes trivial. But of course, that is once you have the LCP array, which for now we've just defined, but I haven't told you how to find it. Yeah, again, the important point is that we compare the suffixes in the sorted order. So in a way, the mnemonic should be longest common prefix. We want these to be really long, and they are maximally long if you compare strings that are close in the sorted order. They tend to share a lot. That's the order in which we write them down. And as a nitpick, the LCP array in my notation starts at 1, whereas all the other arrays start at 0, because it takes the leaf of the suffix of a certain rank and the previous one, and I can only do that starting at 1. What you really want to think about is that the LCP array sits between the leaves. It's a bit annoying. We can't write that more conveniently down with 0.5 as indices. That's what it conceptually should rather be. There's another nice connection I want to show in this picture. Here's the leaves and the suffixes that correspond to them. And here are, in the sorted order between each pair of adjacent suffixes, there's the longest common prefix written down in red. Then the LCP array is the length of that shared prefix. That's LCP by definition. Now, you can, from this array, say there's a certain range. Everyone shares the empty word as a common prefix. Some ranges, say this range, also shares the A as a common prefix. And then there's a subrange here that also shares A and N as a common prefix, and so on. So you can draw what is shared as common prefix. And if you now add the suffix tree again, suppose we have it, then you see these ranges of shared common prefixes 1-to-1 correspond to internal nodes in the suffix tree. Specifically, like in this case, it's important to say if there's a longer shared prefix that has the same extent, it's shared by the same set of leaves, then you only look at the longest. There'll be a single internal node in the suffix tree for ban, not for the intermediate steps that would be unary nodes. But in a way, this already shows you, if you have the leaf array and the LCP array, you kind of have the suffix tree at your disposal, because these intervals where the LCP is above a certain threshold, that corresponds precisely to internal nodes in the suffix tree. So it's LCPs are useful way beyond the simple finding longest repeated strings. They can indeed reconstruct the suffix tree. And I want to make this more explicit and give you the actual algorithm to compute the suffix tree from these two arrays, which also is a good opportunity to close for good one of the black boxes that we left open previously, namely how to find a suffix tree in linear time. I've told you for suffix arrays how it works. I will tell you how it works for LCP arrays. Just give me a few more minutes. But once we have these two, we can construct the suffix tree from those two without much further complication. So conceptually, a suffix tree algorithm, which is, I think, more efficient than many of the previously known Dirichlet ways to compute the suffix tree, would be to find the suffix array, compute the LCP array, we'll see how to do that soon, and then from those two, compute the suffix tree. How do you do this third step? There's a cute, inefficient way to describe it recursively. So I'll show you that on the example. And then there's an efficient, maybe even cuter way to do it, but is a bit less transparent. So that's on the next slide. Here's the leaf array. That's the leaves of the suffix tree we're trying to build. We'll essentially just work on the LCP array, though. And the recursive method says there's going to be a minimum in the LCP array. Initially, that has to be 0 because it can't be negative, and there have to be some strings, or at least here I'm I'm adding these dummy sentinels at the beginning and end of the LCP array to have zeros for good. So the minimum will be 0. And it might occur several times. Specifically, there's a 0 here, and a 0 here, and a 0 here, and the dummy 0 here. That's going to be the top level split for essentially the root. So there will be a root. I'm drawing it a bit elongated so that the labels, the edges to the children are a bit easier to see. And we'll recursively apply the same procedure to all the ranges between the red lines. But then what you get back from this is added as child to the root. Okay? And so here, still to compute, still to compute, still to compute. And this could be an individual single leaf. And of course, we'll have always this one because it's the dollar, but okay. Yeah, you may forget about this. Doesn't matter. Let's recurse on this part, where we'll only look at these guys now. So the minimum here is the 1. And you can, again, pretend to have dummy ones at the outside. So I'm not going to draw the red lines another time, but kind of you always have the boundary at the left and right end, or upper and lower end. So the next division here will be between this and this part. And we'll have an internal node sitting here that has the 5 as one of its children. The other child will be recursively computed here. Let's keep recursing. So now instead of this, we're looking just at these 2 entries and these 3 leaves. Again, we're finding the occurrences, all occurrences of the minimum value. There's just the 2. So here we'll look at this range. And that means there's an internal node here that has the 7 attached to it. And well, guess what? If you're recursing on one with a single LCP entry, that can only get one more internal node connected like this. Okay. This recursive call is also trivial. This single node with these 2 attached. And here we have another simple one with 3 leaves. This one will come first. So it'll have to look like this. And that's the tree topology. So you should tilt this on the side. We'll flip it to the other side, and then you'll see it matches exactly this tree. It's the same topology, just mirrored to the right. So you flip it vertically. Now this algorithm is fine, but it's not so efficient because the trivial way to do it would be to rescan the LCP array to find the occurrences of minima. So that may not be so efficient. You can avoid this by going through the LCP array once from left to right and build the suffix tree for a prefix of the string, or that's not right, a prefix of the leaves and LCP array entries. And in each step, just add one more internal node and one more leaf. And that works in total linear time then. The technical way to do it, I was fighting a bit with the best way to write it down, and I decided to do the insertion in the edge in the end because it's still cleanest. You start with a single vertex to hold the single leftmost leaf. Then the crucial invariant is that we maintain on a stack the right spine of the tree. So if that is your current suffix tree, let's do one more here. I'm going to keep these 2 guys. That's the right spine. I'm following the rightmost child pointer down until I reach a leaf. These 2 I'll keep on a stack from bottom to top, so root downwards. Then when I get the next LCP array value, the LCP value, that tells me how deep the next node has to go in the hierarchy of the tree. It could go up here, or it could go between those two, or it could go down here. And each case gives a slightly different tree. In this first case, we would have the new node as the new root, and essentially the rest of the tree is a left subtree. Now I regret that I drew it so big. And there's one new leaf that also comes into existence. That's for part A. That's if the new node has a smaller LCP value than all the previous ones. Another option would be it's between this and this. Then you would keep the original root. Then you would have the new node. Then you would have this left child here that still hangs here. That's not right. This guy's missing. So there's the new node here. Oop.
You have to tap the panel again.
It's my reminder that time is running out, eh? So here, that's the new leaf. That's the new node. That's the same from previous. You're essentially inserting into this edge the new node. So you're pulling the edge to the right and plugging in a new node. And then the left here is unchanged. And the third option is similar. In each case, all you have to do is essentially bend away a constant number of pointers. You have this one from the parent down here, and from this, the child. That's what you have to change. And in the code, what you do is you pop from the stack the right spine until you find the spot where you're supposed to go. And then you insert your new node there. And because you're essentially pushing every node once and popping every node once, whenever you do effort, it could be that some insertion takes a longer time because you have a long spine to work up from. But then all these nodes are gone for good, and you can't have another expensive step afterwards. In a way, what you're doing with the stack is scattered over time, one traversal of the tree. So it's linear time overall. I should say the algorithm only outputs the shape of the tree and doesn't label the edges with the corresponding characters, but that's easy to fix. You can look into the text and pick the right edge labels. Easiest conceptually to do this in a second traversal. And as you may have recognized or not, who knows, this algorithm is similar to some other known algorithms. And if you want, you could say the topology of the suffix tree is the Cartesian tree of the LCP values. If that helps you, then great. If not, fine, ignore it. Like the algorithm works without that understanding.